So let me make this full screen. Okay. So yep, this is an introduction to SEO. Sort of just a beginner style thing, not going into too much technical depth. But yeah, you should get a good idea about SEO as a whole. And his content, I think Sergio went over each of the different sections of this presentation. But I'll start off with what is SEO. So SEO is basically all of the organic search results you find when you make a search. So here's an example of a search, which is search engine marketing. And we can see the organic results are in green here. So at the bottom, the ads are at the top. Obviously, SEO has no impact on paid advertising. So organic results will appear below the paid advertising. So this is why SEO is important. So, I mean, without SEO, it's unlikely your site or your content is going to rank in the search results page at all. It gives a lot of overtime dividends in terms of traffic to your website. So a successful SEO campaign over a long period of time can result in huge amounts of traffic, because every search, people will keep coming back to your site. And that's obviously slightly more than PPC, whereas PPC, you have a more short-lived campaign. So that PPC is pay-per-click. So every time, if we go back to the ads, so pay-per-click, if people start clicking on your ads, you pay each time. But obviously, once a campaign has run its course, you'll stop appearing in these top results. Whereas SEO, once you've set it up and it's successful, it can be done for free. So you keep getting back more traffic, more search results, even way after you've completed the SEO and the optimization of your site. So how does Google rank and choose what to rank over other things? So we've kind of got two sections: on-site optimization. So that is maybe the content on your site, so the words and the text content. When Google can work out what your page is about, it can start ranking for certain keywords that it thinks users are searching for and will want to find your page. So this is a example of ads. So Google will scan every single page which they think includes Adidas, and it will find the most relevant page for that key term. But as you can see, all of the top results are from big sites like eBay, the Adidas main website, Sports Direct, Amazon. So these are very authoritative sites. These sites have a lot of trust. Google knows who they are and what they are. And the way Google knows is because other sites link to these sites. And when other sites link to the sites, Google give it an almost score, a page rank. And when this score is high, Google's more likely to rank those results higher. So it's a combination of offsite optimization, so sites linking to it, and how authoritative this site is it well known? And also on-site optimization, the amount of keywords, how it's written, that kind of thing, the quality of the content, and how relevant it is to the search term. So these things kind of come in a combination to rank a site higher. Yeah. So for example, this eBay here they've got the top spots. Actually, this result here, JD Sports, has the top search result, and will obviously drive a lot more traffic than a result further down the page, or a result, say, on page 2. I think it's well known that people very, very rarely go to page 2 from page 1. So really only the best SEO sites will get a huge amount of traffic. So yes, this is the example of click-through rates. So at the top, these are ads in green. So we won't be looking at ads, but search result 1, 2, and 3. If you look at the graph on the right, you can see that if you rank in the first position, the click-through rate is around 18%. Once it hits 2, it drops dramatically to about 10%, and it keeps going further down. And obviously, once you get to the second page, the click-through rates are very, very, very low. So really, the aim is to try and rank position number 1 for your targeted keywords, because that's going to drive a huge amount of traffic to your site. We pointed out too that even though search ads are at the top, I think a lot of people get dissuaded and they trust organic results over ads. So they tend to skip the ads at the top of the page and go straight on to the organic results. So I think this is one of the comparisons between PPC and SEO, whereas I think SEO can drive a lot of trust to your site. So what keywords to target? We like to sort of put keywords into 4 different categories: awareness, consideration, preference, and your purchase. So each of these stages is kind of different levels of the customer journey. Awareness could be someone that's searching for information about a product or just very broad terms. So here is just mobile phones, and people might just be generally searching about mobile phones and have no intention of buying yet, or in a long time they might purchase, but not right now. So consideration, people are trying to weigh up which are the best products. So you might find search terms such as best mobile phones and that kind of thing. And when people start to consider, these are search terms that you can definitely target with a lot of different SEO strategies, depending on which keywords you're targeting. So each section will have a different set of results. Preference is obviously, people start showing their preference. They'll type in specific search terms, so maybe a specific phone brand, something to show that they are interested in one particular product. And then purchase is when people are going to buy the product. So someone might search for buy iPhone 8, buy iPhone X, or whatever. They're looking to purchase that item soon and immediately. These key terms are usually more competitive in terms of PPC. So people that make these searches are very high quality because they lead to more sales proportionately to, say, awareness keywords. And this usually means when you type in a search, say for like buy iPhone, you'll see a lot more ads compared to just awareness keywords. So this is something that can be kept in mind for these kind of campaigns and trying to rank in the search engine. So here's an example of different types of keywords again. So this information is based off PPC again, but it can be translated to SEO. Most statistics come from PPC because Google provides the most information about keywords from paid campaigns. So you get a lot more information from this, but it gives if a cost of a keyword is higher, it usually means it's more competition or it's more higher quality. So you can sort of understand the amount of people which are searching for each keyword. So longer tail keywords are keywords which have more words in it, and so are probably more specific and have less people searching for it. This usually means that people there's less competition on search results pages. So you can rank usually higher for that keyword with less authority and perhaps less on-site optimization. But yeah, so usually in SEO, it's more beneficial if you've got a smaller site to try and rank for more niche, long-tail keywords, because you'll drive traffic compared to, if you try to rank for, say, just shoes, you're never going to be able to do that, because big informational sites like Wikipedia will always outrank you. There's no way you could make your site outrank Wikipedia unless you spent a huge amount of money on like a massive campaign. So so for a lot of our sites, we try and rank for specific key terms that are most relevant to the site, which will, maybe we can get the site to rank for result 1 or 2 for these specific keywords, these long tail keywords. So these are examples of featured snippets. So featured snippets are quite important for SEO and websites. They come at the top of a search page. You might have seen them before when you type in maybe, well, here's an example, what are the signs of dehydration? And you'll see that Google will provide a list from a website that they've pulled out. And this is so users don't have to click through to the site. They can get the information very quickly without having to click through to different websites. This might seem like a bad thing because people aren't clicking through to your site. So as an SEO, if you do win a featured snippet, you have to be careful to make it enticing enough so people want to click through and see the full content and hopefully go on to other areas of your site. But yeah, it is a good thing to get featured snippets because you rank at the top of the page. You use up a lot of the search results sort of area. So people are more likely to click on your result because they're not seeing other results because the featured snippets are so large at the top of the page. Yeah, that's quite a useful thing to note. So again, how to rank for these keywords. There's 2 different ways, like I said before, on-site SEO and off-site SEO. And one is to do with content and the other is to do with authority. So usually you have a lot more control in the immediate sense for content on your website. So these are changes you can make immediately and start to improve your website in terms of an SEO on-site aspect. But off-site SEO usually takes a bit more time. You have to gain trust with other websites, gather links from other websites, and basically make your page more known to Google. And here's some of the factors that will increase your chances to rank higher on search results pages. This is quite a large, all the different factors, and some which are negative as well. So good quality content here is ranked one of the highest on-page SEO ranking factors. And then links is one of the top off-page SEO ranking factors. So the more links you have, the higher you're likely to rank for your specific keywords. And here's some negative ones. So if your website seems very spammy, or maybe it seems like a piracy website, Google will trust that a lot less, and so will rank it a lot further down in results pages. So that's something to keep aware of. Yeah, I think I'm passing over to Alex now for the more content on-site SEO.
Cheers, Ollie.
Yeah, no worries.
Hi, everyone. As mentioned earlier, I'm Alex.
Cool.
Okay, here we go. So yeah, now we're just going to delve a little bit deeper into on-site and off-site SEO and what specifically that actually means. So starting off with the basics, here is kind of like a rundown of what we call metadata. So that's the meta title, or the page title as it's been labeled here. And as you can see on the screen, this is how it looks within the search engine's results page. So it's the blue clickable link that you see at the top of every kind of entry into the SERPs, or search engine results pages for long. So this incorporates the meta title or page title, the URL of that specific page, as well as the meta description, which is a brief section that it's a sentence essentially that describes what the content on that page is about. which has a character limit of 155 characters. So with regards to the page title, the label's a little bit askew on the screen there, but essentially the page title isn't viewable on a page. It's what shows at the top of the tab. So you can see there, roundup of Google updates from March 2020 is at the top of the page on the tabs next to WeTransfer. Then you've got the URL, of course, and then the H1, that's the main heading of the page. So that works in a kind of hierarchical structure with headings. We have our H1, which is one per page, and this is the main heading on every page. Then you have H2, which is a subheading, H3 again, it's smaller. It's more of a design thing. So as you move down in the numbers of your headings, so down to H2, H3, H4, etc., the headings tend to get a bit smaller and a little less prominent on the page. So it's more of a design thing, but something that Google also takes into consideration when it's looking at what keywords to kind of rank each page for. So just to go into a few of the kind of specifics around these three elements. To start with page titles, as we know, they're one of the most important ranking factors for a page. So every page on your site basically should have an important primary keyword that you want that page to rank for, so that when people search for that keyword, you're more likely to show up because you're more relevant to it. So it also gets pulled through on social media, so it's important to make sure you kind of nail the page titles for every page. It's very, very important element. So the optimal format that we suggest is to use the primary keyword, perhaps a secondary keyword if you can fit it in, and then the brand name. So it's very key to have the brand name at the end of every single page title, just to kind of build that brand awareness, and also to just have a sense of kind of familiarity about your site, so that people kind of become a bit more associated with your brand and realize that you're a decent player within that space. So the character limit, I mean, it's somewhere between 50 to 60 characters, but specifically it's done on a pixel limit. So it's a case of it's often a case of trial and error, but 99% of the time, if your page title is below 55 characters, then it's going to display fine. But one thing you don't want is to make those page titles too long, and then they become truncated, so they cut off the end. Google will cut off the end of the page title, and it essentially just looks a little bit lazy. And many case studies have shown that this causes a big drop in click-through rates. So yeah, we want to make sure that our page titles are all within limit and also contain the primary keyword. So that's the most two important factors to take from that. Meta descriptions, it's not a direct ranking factor, but it can obviously affect how many people will click through to your site, because it's essentially, think of it like window shopping almost, and this is your advertising messaging to try and pull people in from the results pages. So for example, if someone was to type in our case, someone was to type in SEO services, there's obviously going to be 10 results there. And that meta description is just a little one sentence chance to just kind of, sell your choice on that results page and encourage people to click through. As mentioned, it's similar to the page titles in that it's a pixel limit, but typically, again, 99% of the time, if it's below 155 characters, it's going to display fine. And again, similarly, we want to keep that within the limit, just so that it looks professional and encourage people to click through. And again, similarly to the page titles, that is it's used to be shared on social media. If you haven't specifically implemented a description for your page to be shared on social media, then the social media website, whatever that may be, will pull through your meta description. So again, it's important for a number of elements, albeit not a direct ranking factor. And as we touched on earlier, the main heading is a primary ranking factor, and the subheadings are minor ranking factors. So these aren't huge. These aren't going to have huge impacts on your rankings, but it's important to try and include keywords in there where possible. But yeah, it's not as important by any means as the page title. So yeah, focus on getting the keywords in the page title, focus on getting them in the H1. Subheadings less so. This is more for the user to help the user kind of navigate through. We don't want long blocks of text and to lose the interest of people. So yeah. So optimizing your content for SEO. These are kind of 4 steps for the first kind of basic 4 steps that we would take to achieve this. So in terms of performing keyword research, again, we're going to touch on that a little bit more later on in the presentation, so I won't go into that now, but that's essentially the process of how we find the keyword for that page. What are the factors that we consider when we're selecting that keyword, and we'll just touch on the kind of tools we use for that. So LSI keywords, that stands for latent semantic indexing keywords. So this is essentially these are essentially just words that are related to the keyword itself, and they help Google understand your page as an entity in itself. Again, this is something we'll go into greater depth on later in the presentation, so I won't labor on that too much right now. So as we said, select your primary keyword for that page, and as we said, each page on your site should target one primary keyword, and you can also, there may be kind of alternate kind of variations of that keyword, if you like, that you can also include within the page. But the hard and fast rule is one primary keyword for every single page on our website, and the key thing is to not have 2 pages competing for the same keyword. This is known within the industry as cannibalization. So this essentially occurs when you have, as I said, 2 pages on your site that are competing for the same keyword, and they're basically going to compete with one another and knock the ranking of both down. So it's going to be of detrimental impact to your domain overall. So this is a really important factor to consider here, number 3. I mean, years ago, people would kind of stuff keywords into their document as much as possible. So again, if we take the example of SEO services, if we were trying to rank, if we as MintTwist, as a business, were trying to create a page to rank for SEO services, we would include it as mentioned in the page title, in the H1, and then we'd probably try and mention it, 20 times within the page. And previously, Google would have considered that as very relevant because we mention it so many times. But as time's gone on and algorithms have progressed, that's very much not the case anymore. So now it's all about the user. So when we're writing content for our website, it's now all important to kind of write with the user in mind first and foremost, and then think about the keywords after, and perhaps using them strategically in the document 3 or 4 times where possible. But we don't want that to look unnatural. And then moving on to step 4, metadata optimization. So as we just touched on the last couple of slides, that incorporates your page titles, your headings, and meta descriptions, and ensuring that we've got the keyword in each of those elements. So yeah, the process of keyword research, if you like, there is a number of tools. There's loads out there that you can use. They're all great. The paid ones obviously tend to be a little bit better and a little bit, they work a little bit harder for you than the free tools do. Our preference at MintTwist, we kind of use 2 in the main, Ahrefs and SEMrush. Previously, I've always preferred SEMrush, but since Sergio's joined the team, he's very much converted me to Ahrefs. So I've got a bit of a preference for that now. But yeah, Ahrefs is great. In all honesty, you could probably, if you wanted to conduct SEO, you could probably get away with just using this tool, and you could run yourself a pretty decent SEO campaign or strategy just using this tool. So how does it work? Essentially, this is just an example for us. So if we were running a digital marketing course, you'll see in the top left, we input that into the search box, and then we have this section down the left-hand side of the page. So we can do phrase match. So that would be everything, including those exact words. Also rank for example, would be a page that also ranks for the term digital marketing course, but might not specifically use those words. Questions, again, so what is the best digital marketing course, things like that. So to look at the page itself in detail, the three kind of important elements that we've pulled out here are the keyword difficulty. So this is kind of really key when we're looking at what keywords that we're going to select for our primary keywords for each page. So basically, the higher a keyword difficulty, the more difficult it is going to be to rank for that keyword, and it's pretty straightforward. But as Ollie touched on earlier, for example, if a keyword difficulty is incredibly high, such as something like shoes, you're going to have a very tough time ranking for that, because websites such as, your Wikipedias, eBay's, websites like that, they've got, hundreds of thousands of links. They're very authoritative. They've been around for years and years. So it's going to be very difficult to outrank them. So that's kind of important aspect to take into consideration when you're selecting which keyword to target for each page. Next thing we'll look at is the search volume. So that's the number of searches per month for that particular keyword, and this is within the UK strictly. But you can obviously tweak the tool to on a country basis, so we can see how many people are searching for a keyword in English in each country. So that's obviously relevant if your business is international. Similarly with the clicks, this is the amount of clicks that you could expect a certain result on a keyword to receive per month. And that kind of covers everything from this. Won't go into too much more detail on that. Again, so this is just a few of the tools that we find are the most commonly used within SEO. As mentioned, the two at the left and right side, SEMrush and Ahrefs, they are probably the two most popular tools within SEO. They're brilliant. Both kind of do pretty similar things and similar price ranges. So those two are great. In terms of free, sorry, I was still on that one. Yeah. The two free tools that we've got there, keywordtool.io and Answer the Public. These are all web browser based tools, so easily accessible to anyone. Answer the Public basically and Keyword Tool, they do the same thing. So they scrape the data from Google autocomplete. So for example, when we're typing in something within the browser on Google, and we see a load of suggestions come up below, that's basically the data that's scraped. So it kind of gives you an idea of all of the variations of a keyword that someone might be asking about something. As mentioned earlier, LSI keywords, or latent semantic indexing keywords, are kind of words that are related to the main keyword for your page, and Google will kind of look out for these specific words just to check that they're within your page, and as long as they are, then it will consider your page a lot more relevant towards the key term. So the example pulled out here, English breakfast tea, words around that kind of drink, milk, brands, cup, mug, sugar, leaves. These are just kind of words that help reinforce the meaning of that page to Google. So, I mean, to kind of put this into a competitive context, maybe explain it a bit clearer. If we had 2 pages ranking for this, completely hypothetical example, but not very realistic, but if we had 2 pages competing for the term orange, one of them was talking about orange, and it mentioned the words yellow, purple, black, brown, and the other page was mentioning apples, bananas, fruits, vegetables, food, for example. That's how LSI keywords work. They basically keywords that just give Google a bit more context, and it would know that one page is ranking for orange, the color, and another one for orange, the fruit. So it's just kind of a bit of clarity for Google in terms of how it uses certain words to understand the meaning of a page from an algorithmic aspect. So keyword optimization, this is kind of very much everything that we've been through already. So this is a page that's trying to rank for cold brew coffee. As we can see, it's included in the page title, best cold brew coffee. We can see that's in the tab there. Then within the H1, why cold brew coffee? It's also in the URL. It's been cut off, but I promise you it's there. We can also see that cold brew coffee is used twice within the body content itself, so within the kind of main body text on the page. Additionally, images are something that SEO can often forget about, because we will find ourselves obsessed with text and the words and the semantics of things, when we can often forget about the image side of things. So alt text is basically used. It was primarily invented for people using screen readers, so people with visual impairment, just to kind of, for them to be able to understand and to be read out to them what an image may be about. So it's also a good idea to include the keyword in here, just to kind of increase that relevance towards your keyword in terms of Google's algorithm. So moving on, again, as we've touched on slightly earlier, we've got the page title there in blue, just to reiterate, the URL below that in green, and then we've got the meta description below that, which is the kind of the short sentence below. And then the image alt text again, this is just kind of showing everything in action. So we know, obviously, countless case studies have been done to show that having your metadata well optimized and including the keywords that you want to rank for, it's gonna more often than not increase click-through rates greatly, as well as user experience. So in terms of a content audit, content is the primary ranking factor in terms of SEO. But when we say content, there's obviously infinite amount of factors that can kind of impact the content and how that content performs. So to begin with, we would kind of, this is a process of how we would perhaps analyze content on a site that exists already, and this is also a few questions that you could ask of your own content, and how you could perhaps improve that. So to start off with, we will look at the user intent. So that's basically what are the keywords that you're actually targeting for this page, and kind of, is your content satisfying the user intent? So if we're looking into the SERP, SERP stands for Search Engine Results Pages. So if we're looking at that and seeing that many other of the websites are kind of, they're giving you perhaps a short answer to this keyword query that people are searching for, but your website has a 1,000 word really in-depth piece, we know that this isn't actually what people are looking for, because we can see Google is ranking pages that answer the questions in a succinct manner. So it's all about kind of identifying the state of the results pages for that specific keyword. So there is no hard and fast rule. In previous years, you often get people saying there's a minimum word count perhaps for content, or the more words you have, the better it is for SEO. That's not the case. It's simply a case by case basis. Quite often you will find the more content you have on a page, the better, but obviously this is not always the case. We need to identify it on a keyword by keyword basis for each page, and look at the keyword you're targeting for, input that into Google, and see what Google is rewarding for that particular keyword and how we can best replicate that. We then move on to the quality assessment section. And this is all about the EAT content quality guidelines. So this is a kind of, these are some guidelines that Google introduced about 18 months to 2 years ago. So it stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So the E, it's about having a kind of personal touch to it. So for our content, we want it published by an individual itself. So for example, if MintTwist were to publish a blog article about SEO that was written by Ollie, for example, we would have that saying on the website as published by Ollie Lewis from MintTwist, rather than saying published by MintTwist, because within our website, there'll be a lot of other articles written by Ollie, again, on SEO. So Google will kind of associate Ollie as being an expert. Not too sure about that, but we will, Google itself will consider that. So it's about kind of, building up that expertise. So writing as much content as possible and becoming an expert within that particular niche. Authority, so that's, whether is your website trustworthy enough? Do you have links pointing to it? Is it believable? Are you publishing a lot of content around that? It's all about kind of building up that content, really. And then your trustworthiness, the T stands for, that's about having a quality website, not too spammy. You don't want too many adverts all over the place. So I mean, it's generally EAT guidelines. While they were kind of a big thing when they came in SEO, it's just common sense and about what. And again, it all comes down to, I mean, we keep coming back to the same point: writing for your users. That is very much the key with content in SEO. We want to write for our users and stick to those EAT guidelines. So creating content that people will find useful. Moving on to the next section, again, we've touched on that. We've gone into some depth with LSI keywords. So just ensuring that you're using those and ensuring that it's as clear as possible to Google what the content of your page is about and what the kind of keyword query is you're trying to answer. And then we move on to entity analysis, which is looking at the entities used by the top 10 competitors and recommending the incorporation of such entities. So this is very similar to kind of LSI keywords, where we want to talk about terms that are kind of related to that particular keyword. So again, I will go back again to the example of MintTwist. We've got our page for SEO services, say, for example, and within that page, we probably want to mention things such as Google, digital marketing, Bing, perhaps, voice search. So these aren't things that are, inherently linked to SEO, but they are used within that entity, if you like. So they are other entities within that niche of SEO. So they may not be directly linked to SEO, but they kind of give Google a clearer idea of what that page is about. So that rounds that section off. So on-site content is key. This is kind of why are we creating quality on-site content? As mentioned earlier, it's the primary ranking factor from Google's perspective. It's incredibly important. Content is king is often a phrase you'll heard used within SEO, and it is very much true, and it's becoming increasingly more the case as time goes on. It's all about writing for the user and satisfying whatever it is the user wants. So we want to create original, engaging, relevant and recent content. So this means that we want to be talking about things that are relevant now, as we speak. We don't want to be talking about things that were relevant 10 years ago or something. We want to be creating the best content within our sphere, the most kind of cutting edge, industry leading content within our particular sphere. And as a result of that, we're going to get more likes, we're going to get more shares on social media. You're also going to drive more links to your site because people are going to be more willing to send their traffic towards this great content that you've got. We want that content to be keyword focused, so it's found by as many people as possible. So that's where the keyword research that we mentioned at the start, that's how that comes into play. We want to be ensuring that we're using the words that most people are searching or are the least competitive, or getting a balance between those two. And ultimately, as a result of all that, you're going to provide a much improved user experience for people navigating through your website. And again, that's going to be rewarded within your performance from an organic perspective, and in terms of your own visibility and the traffic that you're driving to your own site. So without further ado, I think that's on to offsite SEO, which is kind of the second prong of the two that we mentioned at the start. And that is on to Sergio. So thanks for listening to me for that bit.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about offsite SEO. Alex just mentioned that the primary ranking factor in on-site SEO is content. Content is key, but for off-site SEO is link building. So I'm going to talk about link building and why it's important, what it is, and how we've been helping clients with link building. So to go over link building, I want to tell you what are the main components on Google's ranking algorithm. So for any given website, trust and authority is considered as some case studies the top ranking factor, and the authority of the website is measured by SEO metrics such as domain authority. This is the old metric, the metric from Moz. Other metrics are domain rating from Ahrefs. That's the tool that Alex just showed you. That tool is our favorite tool, as Alex mentioned. And the part of keyword research, you can perform like a health check of any website, and especially to evaluate how powerful and how authoritative is any given website. So that's the tool we use immediately once we have any project, and especially for this part, for the authority, we can quickly check what is the domain rating of any other website. Link popularity is also very important. It means how trusted and popular and healthy are the links that any website is receiving. Another factor is the anchor text. The anchor text of the external links that any website is receiving. So if any of you doesn't know what anchor text is, it's the piece of text that it's included in any hyperlink pointing to your website. So having a variety of anchor text pointing to your website is important, because when you know that Google is against link building manipulation, and that means people tend to create links on purpose just to improve the rankings of the website. So they tend to use specific keywords within the anchor text in order to force Google to rank for such keyword. That's totally fine, but you cannot have 90% of your anchor text having the exact keyword you want to rank for. Otherwise, it's a clear signal of SEO manipulation. So you want to keep that anchor text in 10 or 20%. And a natural anchor text profile will be like having a naked URL or your brand name or different variations of the best way to describe your website or services. Yeah, with 50% on-page keyword usage, I think Alex already covered that. In the past, it was very common to perform keyword stuffing in your content in order to rank for specific keywords, but nowadays that's very penalized. But obviously, Google needs to understand what is your content about, so you need to include all the keywords that you found in your keyword research strategically across your page, and make sure you don't overuse the keywords. You just need to write for the users. The hosting data and registration is also important. The amount of traffic that your website is receiving is a very, very important factor, as well as the click-through rate, which I think Alex Ollie already covered that in the introduction, is the average time of people clicking into your website in the Google search results. And also, to finish this part, social media signals. This was very popular in the past. Nowadays, it's just a tiny percentage of influence that social media signals influence websites, but it's still very important because, in the other hand, the more social media retweets or shares of your content, more people will find it, more traffic your content will have, and in the end, more keywords more links your website will gain. This is an example of why link building is important. So maybe you are still wondering, what is link building? I heard it so many times in this presentation. So basically, link building is the process of acquiring hyperlinks from other websites to your own website. So why link building is important? Well, even though Google states that link building manipulation is against Google guidelines, they also say at the same time that it works as a vote of confidence from other websites to your website. So if many websites are crediting your website in their articles, that means that your website is a well-researched website with high-quality link and needs to be rewarded with high rankings. So this is an example of BBC. If the BBC website links to your landing page, at the same time you receive a link from MintTwist, obviously the BBC website is a website that has more authority. The domain rating of BBC News is around 90, whereas the MintTwist website has 63 of domain rating. So obviously, a link, if you receive a link from BBC News, you will have a higher boost in authority for your website, and therefore your rankings will be rewarded with better positions. Some of the link building best practices is to have the links highly contextual, and that means when someone writes an article and they include a hyperlink to your website describing specifically what your website services or the piece of content that you have written, that's extremely important. And for example, if the link is in a footer or in an image, is not as important as it's within the body content of the article. High affinity is extremely important, and I would say is the most important thing when it comes to link building, and that means receiving links from industry-related websites. It's what Google understand that if other websites related to your niche, that's even more important than receiving a link from a high authority website. The spam level of the website linking to your website is also something to consider. So in order to evaluate this, every time we search to buy a link to your website, we need to understand and to analyze the backlink profile of this website by checking all the links pointing to that website in terms of how the authority, if they come from different languages or from unrelated industries, or if they come from dodgy websites. So yeah, that's extremely relevant, and we need to pay special attention. Otherwise, your website can be penalized. And in the past, years ago, it didn't matter. Any link you build for your website worked really well. But nowadays, quality is versus quantity is extremely relevant. Also, the amount of organic traffic that websites pointing to your website are having is also something to consider. So when it comes to link acquisition, we actually check all these factors and we take them into consideration. not all the links works the same. We sometimes have built links from 2 or 3 websites to one of our landing pages, and our rankings skyrocket, rather than having 200 links from low quality websites didn't have any impact at all, but you can get penalized actually. I wanted to show you, before we carry on with the content creation, so 1 second. Oops, sorry. I'm not sure how to. Right.
You need to escape.
Okay, sorry. I wanted to show you a few examples, a few of the tools that we use when it comes to monitor the rankings of the keywords. So when it comes to link building, and we want to see the progress of our link building efforts, we use tools to monitor every single keyword. So this is an example of the keyword rankings that we regularly monitor. This is for MintTwist. So this column corresponds to the position, this column corresponds to the keyword, this one corresponds to the monthly searches. So this way you can see we have very good rankings for SEO and web design related keywords. And in order to monitor all the links that we build, we use this other tool, Linkod. So why this is important? Because sometimes when we build links, the links can drop, or they can change their status. So this way we can check and monitor all the links that we build for our clients. And yeah, with clients, they kind of give value when we control everything in this aspect. So yeah, because link building is so important, we actually created a link building landing page on Google on the MintTwist website, and we made it live like a couple of months ago. And at the moment, we are ranking pretty well and receiving lots of inquiries for this. So yeah, just stating the importance of link building. And I think Alex can carry on with the content creation part.
In terms of actually creating the content on your website, there's 3 key different types of content that a website will produce. And these kind of 3 tiers of content, if you like, has been kind of agreed upon within the SEO community over a number of years. But there are 3 terms that have kind of really come into the lexicon in the last sort of 3 or 4 years in particular, as the importance of creation of content has gone through the roof. So if we can just, I was going to say if we can go on to the next slide, but hello. Brilliant. Okay, so we have 3 types of content: hygiene, hub, and hero. So hygiene content is kind of the typical everyday service page that that most people would enter your website to visit. So if we take the example of MintTwist and SEO, our hygiene page would be our SEO service page. So that's where we want to drive all our users to, and this is kind of the conversion page for us. And that is just kind of your very basic website content that everyone should have. For each service that you offer, you want to have that hygiene page there. Then your hub pages are something that support this. So hub pages would typically be any kind of blog content that we create. So we'd identify this, as mentioned earlier, by conducting our keyword research, and we'd look at all the questions that people are asking around SEO. So, what is link building? What is SEO? What does SEO stand for? How do I rank first on Google? All these kind of little questions. We would then create hub content within our blog section that link to our hygiene section, our hygiene page. And then hero content is this is the kind of, as it says there, the go big content campaigns. So this is about kind of being the leader within your industry, if you like, and creating really engaging content that's going to, obviously, as Sergio just touched on, there's two ways to earn links. There's one is going out there and doing your own link building, which is of increasing importance in terms of SEO. Essentially, everyone does link building to some degree these days. If you want to have a successful SEO strategy or campaign, it's a fundamental part of it. So that's one element of it. The other element of building links to your website is through the creation of hero content. So hero content would be something that naturally acquires links from people without us going out there to kind of encouraging people to link to our website. This is content that's so good that people will just kind of share it on social media, link to it from their own websites because they think it's going to offer value to users on their own website. So to provide an example, again, sorry to stick with the SEO theme, but again, in terms of, we've got, as we said, SEO services is the hygiene page. SEO, what is SEO? All that regular kind of questions that people are asking around it would fall under the hub content category. And then for the hero content was we came up with an idea to have a content calendar. So this is kind of this is essentially a very simple calendar that runs through all of the important dates around a year. And when I say important dates, it's kind of hard to nail that down to one aspect. So we take in anything that could impact content creation. So we'll include things like sports tournaments, any festivals, music festivals, religious holidays, any kind of big conferences, things like that. Anything that could influence a marketer's or give ideas for people to create or plan their content around our calendar. So we noticed that no one had done that before. So we created this content calendar, as we called it, and then we also that managed to build a load of links to our website because people were saying, oh look, if you're struggling to plan out content for the year for your clients, here's this really, really easy, simple to use tool that you can use to kind of aid you in this process of creating content and planning content. So it's about, quite often with hero content, what you want to do is you want to kind of service the pain point, if you like, within your industry. So if there's a problem that someone has encountered and there's no solution to that within a search sphere, then we should be the ones to create that content and get a load of links, a load of attention, and a load of ultimately traffic to our website. Another example of hero content would be years ago working with Knight Frank. We noticed that with them there was no people were searching around, how do I find my stamp duty land tax? So loads of questions around that and how to work it out. So ultimately we just came up with a really simple tool with a basic algorithm built in called the stamp duty land tax calculator. And similarly to our content calendar, that grasped a load of links, a load of traffic, and a load of attention. And again, similarly with the content calendar, we've now noticed that pretty much every estate agent has incorporated the stamp duty land tax calculator to their website. But being the first people to do that, obviously that gives you a big benefit in terms of the links that you're going to generate, the attention, and ultimately the traffic you're going to generate. So yeah, that kind of sums up the 3 tiers of content, if you like. I can move on to the next slide. So talking about spheres of content, this is something that has increased very much in importance in the last few years within SEO. So, I mean, looking at it, it's a very simple. This is a very simplistic diagram, and again, the concept of it in itself is very simplistic. So, for example, we have two sites, Site A and Site B. Both of these have hygiene pages, and we're both trying to rank for SEO services. However, Site A, so if we call Site A MintTwist and Site B as another marketing agency, so if we both have these SEO service pages that are hygiene content. However, MintTwist has all these fantastic blog posts answering all the questions that people are asking around SEO, and we've linked all of these blog posts towards our service page. On the other hand, website B, so our competitor marketing agency, just has that hygiene content. They just have that service page. As a result, we are going to outrank that page 9 times out of 10 because we have created more value for the user. So as I keep referring to, and it keeps coming back to this, it's all about adding that value to the user and who is offering the most valuable experience to a user. So from Google's perspective, we've created a nice architectural web of content around SEO. So it doesn't have to, obviously, it doesn't all sit within the SEO page itself, the service page. We have all this content, hub content, as we mentioned in the previous slide, from our blog section, and all of that links through to the service page. So as far as Google is concerned, MintTwist offers far more value with regards to the keyword SEO services than Site B, because we've just got loads more content around it, and we're answering the keywords that people are searching every month for this that we've identified through our keyword research. On to the next one, please, Sergio. So what do we want to know when it comes to tackling kind of content creation? So, I mean, there's obviously loads of aspects that you could take into consideration. We've just kind of pulled out a few of the key ones that we like to look at when creating content for ourselves or for our clients. So the demographic info, obviously, is going to be one of the most important elements you take into consideration. Things like age, gender, location, and what that means within your niche. Furthermore, what other websites do they look at? So, you know, what other things are they interested in? How else can we gain the attention of this? So the next one we'll go on to is what channels do they use to communicate? This can obviously have quite a big kind of impact on how you deliver your content to your users. So again, for example, if your people are more interested in Twitter, it's more likely to be a kind of text-heavy content piece. Whereas if your crowd within that industry or within that niche that you're creating content for is more Instagram-based crowd, then typically this is going to be more visual and something, you know, a little bit more sexy, if you like to look at, rather than kind of text-heavy stuff. Who do they listen to? So, you know, we're not talking about Michael Jackson or George Michael there. That's about influences within your sphere. So again, influencers, I mean, it always shocks me these days. I'm sure probably less so with you guys at Finn, because I'm sure you work with them a lot, but just how much people will listen to influencers, especially younger people. If influencers will tell their kind of audience to go out and buy something, more often than not, they seem to go and buy it. So it's interesting. We see the impacts that influencers have. So again, looking at the influencers that your audience may have, you can get some ideas of the other stuff that they'd be interested in and other content to create. And as we went into in a bit of depth in that last slide, what are the pain points? This is probably the best way that you can create content is by kind of filling a void within your niche. And as I said, being the industry leader and kind of delivering industry leading content that's novel, that people haven't done before, and that, you know, helps out in an area where people were perhaps struggling before. So SEO for press releases, as Sergio mentioned at the beginning, this is kind of, we've gone over the theory, if you like, of SEO, some of the practical elements of it too, that this is going to go into kind of the SEO elements for PR specifically. So it's just going to touch on a few things here, a few quick bullet points to round things off. So we want strong headers with important keywords at the beginning. This is obviously important within, not just within PR, but in SEO in general. But we always want to make sure that our content is keyword led and that it's stuff that people are actually interested in and searching for. Because one thing we have is kind of an eternal struggle with a lot of our clients. It's the trade-off between what the company itself wants to write about and what users themselves are actually searching for. So we could create some great content that is suggested to us by a client that they want to write, but if no one's searching for that and no one's interested in it, then it's not going to get found, and it's essentially kind of wasting time in a way, because we're not optimizing our time in the best manner possible. So yeah, being kind of keyword led and having a look at, just before you kind of publish something, looking at those meta elements that we mentioned earlier in the document, and kind of how can we factor these keywords in to just help ensure that our content is found by the highest number of people possible from an organic perspective. With regards to personalizing your content, this needs to be personalized around editorial guidelines, which, you know, should be set for yourself. So we want to have a kind of a uniformed approach to it with it per client, so that all of our press releases, they follow a kind of uniform procedure. Focusing on high authority and relevant, BBC versus MintTwist example. Obviously, it's about quality as much as it is quantity. Well, more so than quantity when it comes to building links. So looking at certain elements of a website that you may pitch your press release to, we'd rather have it, for example, on 5 really high authority websites than on 20 very low authority websites. It's actually a mistake that we learned from recently. Me and Sergio were having a quick conversation yesterday around this. We created an article around iPhones, comparing the new iPhone to the previous one. Again, this is something that we kind of identified as what are other things that people, this goes back to how do we create content. So if I just touch back on that, we identified that a lot of the people who are frequenting our website or engaging with us on social were also very interested in technology. So again, that led us down the path to create an article around iPhones. Obviously, we don't sell iPhones. We have no interest in promoting iPhones per se, but it actually ended up garnering quite a lot of traffic to the website simply because people were interested in technology. We identified this. We then created content that satisfied this need. But we tried to do our own PR, and thank goodness we now have you guys on board, because we ended up kind of pumping our content piece out to, I think it was around 20 or 30 low authority websites. We initially saw a really big uprise in the kind of the ranking of the website, how visible it was, the amount of traffic we generated, and we thought we cracked PR, and we thought, you know, yeah, brilliant, fantastic, that's another string to our bow. Then a couple of weeks later, everything went down again, and we learned our lesson there. So again, the authority of these websites is really key, and also Finn's help on PR apparently. So well-researched content is obviously, as we've touched on, you know, we've done it to death in this presentation, so I'm sorry to labour the point, but well-researched content is everything, both from a keyword perspective and both from just the quality of our content. We don't want to put out any kind of thin, ill-researched content that isn't offering value to our users. We want to be, you know, the best in our industry, delivering the best content and the best experience to our users. And that last important sentence is one that shouldn't be overlooked. previously in the last, it's something that's, it's an opinion or a stance that's changed in the last few years. People previously have been kind of a bit hesitant to link out from their own website to other websites, because, you know, they see it as directing traffic away from your own website. And while that's perfectly understandable, we don't want to pump our website, you know, full of loads of links out, just encouraging people to leave too much. But we want to include links out to trusted sources if it's relevant and if it offers more value to the user. So previously people thought, you know, it might be a negative impact on SEO if we link out to other sources, whereas in the last few years, Google, as I said, a couple of years ago, Google released a statement saying that it actually rewarded websites that linked out to trusted sources that offered further value to the user. And again, sorry to bore you on the point, but it's all going back to offering the most value to the user rather than kind of trying to entrap people on your website. It's all about the user. So yeah, outlinking to trusted sources, again, something that shouldn't be overlooked. So common mistakes in press releases, as I mentioned, again, we've made plenty of these. So yeah, learn from them, as we have tried to do. Well, we gave up and employed you guys. Well, employed you guys, worked with you guys, but yeah, these are some mistakes that we've learned from in the few bits of PR we've done from an SEO perspective. So as Sergio mentioned earlier on, the anchor text, which is the blue kind of clickable link, the text that you actually incorporate a link within. It's important to use this with keywords, but we don't want to overdo that. We don't want to have kind of, as Sergio mentioned, 90% of the anchor text, so 90% of links pointing to our website. We don't want them to be exact anchor text. We want to allow whoever's linking to us to kind of use their own anchor text, so that we can diversify that somewhat. Again, submitting press releases to low quality websites, while that may give you an initial boost, an initial increase in organic growth, an increase in traffic, ultimately in the long term, it's only going to be detrimental to your SEO efforts. So we very much suggest focusing on high authority websites and obviously quality over quantity. We want to avoid keyword stuffing, as we mentioned earlier. We don't want to fill our piece of content with too many keywords. Just incorporating this a couple of times within the content where necessary, and also having this in your page title, H1, and meta description is more than sufficient enough. We also want to have individual kind of short broken down paragraphs and use our heading structures, as I mentioned earlier on. Again, we want to use subheadings to kind of break down the content piece. This is even more important if if we've kind of got a long kind of in-depth article. We don't want to lose people and bore them, like I hope I'm not doing now. We're getting to the end, I promise. I know it's been a lot to take in, so thanks for staying with me, those of you that have. So yeah, we don't want to lose people. We want to break down the paragraphs, keep it as simple and as easy as possible to digest. Similarly, if people want to kind of scan to the only bit that's relevant to them, that makes it much easier for them to do if we've broken the content down. And finally, we want to issue our content by an entity, by a real person instead of an entity. So rather than, as I said earlier, rather than kind of producing our content as, say, by MintTwist as an entity in itself, we would publish our content under Ollie Lewis or Sergio Ardobelas, whoever. We want to kind of put a face to that and focus on the E of that EAT, expertise, authority, and trust guideline that Google laid out kindly for us a couple of years ago. So I think that is all.